So what can we do about this? This is a very important and interesting question because we've already figured out that some of the things we didn't work in the long run. They might work in the short run, but not in the long run. We need to think this through as a both and we also need to really gather our knowledge from everything we've learned about bargaining models, background, HDI, GDP, all the way through to today. In terms of policy, the first thing we want to realize is that we don't have to have a one-size-fits-all model. That there are places where the state has to provide fallbacks. And the state can do it directly via providing welfare, support for domestic violence, whatever. It can also indirectly work to set parameters for the market. So the market is when I go to the labor market. And the state can work on laws such as equal opportunity, such as anti-discrimination, to make it possible for me to enter the market. The state can also, along with the market, work with the community or the household. I'm using community as a broader ambit. But, the state can subsidize education. The company can do internships. There's lots of ways in which state and market can also work with community, ranging from working with church groups, working with education institutions, working with families to try and change what's happening there. All of these can interact with each other. But with the labor market, our focus right now is that one, the market. So the total package when we end this quarter will be much bigger, but let's just focus on that for now. So in the labor market, very obviously, anti-discrimination is a policy. Make sure people get jobs. But going further inside the labor market, mentoring is useful. Once you hire people, mentor them. This can take place once you're hired, but this can also take place in education and family, right? You've heard of this. We need role mentors, things like that. Anti-discrimination, mentoring. We can also work on promotion, recruitment, retention. And this can be all kinds of policies, from training managers to change the rubrics they use to decide whom to promote, to family-friendly policies. Provide paid childcare, provide maternity leave, allow people to balance work and families so that they don't get hired and then just lose their job because they can't do that. And then this is my final policy. And it is the most underutilized and yet the single most important policy. So a lot of these policies are about adapting women to the labor market or helping firms adapt women to male jobs. How do I get more men computer scientists to accept women computer scientists? How do I train more black computer scientists? This one is completely different because job gendering showed us that when too many women, more than 50%, enter a profession, the men leave, the salary collapses, the job is de-skilled, it's viewed as female, and it shuts down. What do we do about that? Even if all this succeeds, and I get a ton of women nurses, ton of women accountants, ton of women in marketing, what do? Because those salaries will collapse and the promotions will shut down. Comparable worth is the policy that I feel very proud that I'm teaching this class in the state of Washington. Our state, even though we don't do this anymore, was the pioneer in the 1970s on a policy called comparable worth. And what we decided was, instead of trying to make all those nurses turn into computer scientists, because we need nurses, one way to equate the salary is computer science is here, nurse is there. Make all these women go into computer science. Another way is to simply raise the salary of the nurses. Comparable worth. They have equal level of skill. They are spending as much time on the job. They are as educated. They are taking as much risk. Pay them the same. And in fact, in an average business, we do this all the time. How or why do I know that some guy in the accounting department should earn the same amount of money as the guy in the finance department? Different departments, different time spent. Why do I know some fellow who is in finance requires the same amount of money as that engineer? Different degrees, different technical training. But inside a company, I spend a lot of time making sure my engineers and my managers are paid same, right? I kind of do that. I give some people stock options. I give some people raises. I have a feeling in my head, psychologically, socially, their contribution's about the same. And I don't want a company where one group of people hates the other group of people. If the engineers hate the managers, I'm going to have a terrible situation on my hand, right? So I try and pay them the same. Comparable worth. I make some comparative assessments about the contribution, the education, the skill, the value. Not in the same job like EEOC, but across job categories between finance and computer science, between engineering and management. And I decide they require the same. That is comparable worth. It's like we already know how to do this. So why are we not paying female jobs the same as the male jobs? We know how to do this. We can do this. Instead of making every nurse retrain herself to become a computer scientist, which would be a huge loss for nursing, which we need. Why don't we just pay the nurses as much as we pay the computer scientists? Both of them are postgraduate degrees. Both of them require a ton of tech. Both of them require science. Both of them require 4 years after your BA. Both of them require internships to show that they are good at what they do. Both of them contribute to society. So why not, instead of doing equal wage by making all our students decide to become computer scientists, just pay the nurses more? That is comparable worth. So job gendering places on the table. Very interesting policy. Don't fix the women so that they do what the men do and earn that. If you really believe that each of them is making an interesting comparative advantage, skill-based contribution to society, Becker, women are better at this, men are better at that, we're all doing different things. Nothing in that tells you that the female skill should not be paid the same as the male skill. Pay them the same. The single fastest fix to the wage gap is not retraining women, mentoring women, changing where women work. The single fastest fix is comparable worth. You believe women's work is worth it? Pay them in the job market. Like that, you will fix the problem.